Okay, now we are live. All right, everybody. As Jen would say, happy Tuesday.
Happy
That's her
Tuesday.
favorite one. Happy
Yes.
Tuesday, everybody. We are here for the final show of the month of February, which is Black History Month. So we're gonna talk a little Black history, a little rights, a little education, just anything. It was focused February for us.
Yeah.
Um, and the whole focus February was about focusing on ourselves, focusing on, leveling up, whatever you do, whether it was physically just getting healthy, whether it was mentally just getting sharper, um, all of that. So tonight we're gonna have some guests. We got Xandra here. Xandra, we already on, so we rolling straight on through.
Hey
And look,
y'all,
so
hey.
Jen, y'all got anything y'all want to give them before we start up?
This
Oh
I'm
no,
gonna say
I'm
this.
just
This past
excited our guest on tonight, Dr. Shaye. As you said, we're on our last live in February. And so just to bring her in and let her enlighten us with her knowledge and wisdom. Listen, I'm going to be, as you say, I'm going to be a student tonight and I'm going to take some good notes. And I hope you guys share this with a friend if you like, tag somebody. And I'm ready for it. I'm here for it tonight.
Okay. So we're gonna bring it in here right now. We'll get started because we're not gonna drag it out.
All
Usually
right.
we try to go and get it going, man, so we won't be knocking around all night. Y'all, we got Dr. Shay.
Hey, yeah.
Hey, hey.
So she is a professor of
hello.
English, a doctor as well. Not like Dr. Dre, a real doctor. Um, real doctor. You got women's studies, correct? Professor of women's studies and women's mentorship,
Leadership.
leadership, women's leadership. So that could even be an interesting conversation a little later in this thing because we always the internet love to fight over who leading in the house and who's leading, how women should follow and lead. I don't know if it's the same type of leading, but we'll get into it. Um, Jen, Zane, anything you guys want to add or give or go to?
Yeah, I'm
No,
excited for uh
Uh-oh, I think Zane froze. Doesn't matter. So, all right. So, how many years has it taken you to get all these accolades and all this education piled up into one place?
Yeah. Okay. I don't want to age myself, but I have been teaching since 2008. As a master's student at Ole Miss, we had to do like student teaching as a part of getting the master's degree. So that was like my first time going into a classroom. And then when I started the PhD program in 2009 at the University of Alabama, Roll Tide, um, part of that getting that degree was being a TA with an assistantship. So I was teaching and taking classes at the same time. And then I finished the degree in 2015, but I started teaching like full time as an instructor while I was like working on the dissertation. And then my first full time tenure track professor job was in 2016. And since I no longer work there, I can tell you that was at Mississippi Valley State University. And I have since left there and have been at my current job. This is my fourth year and my first year as a tenured
That's a
professor of
lot of
English and
time, man. Do a 10 years what you guys look for, right? When you're a college professor, you want the
it
tenure.
is. It is. We want tenure. We want a certain degree of job security. Um, but also we want to be recognized for all the work that we put in, all the teaching, service, research, and all that. So I'm officially tenured, but my next promotion hopefully will be full professor, but I'm not sure when I'll do that. But I have never taken a break from school. Like I started Head
Ooh,
Start at
ooh.
3.5, and let's just say I am older than 3 and younger than 40, and I have been a student all the way up until 2015.
But that goes
Yeah.
back to someone was talking about last week about how much discipline it takes to do like a a on track job or to do something that you have to show up to every day. Like that
Yeah,
had to take like a lot of discipline to come to a classroom every day, and like you get students every semester and you have to keep preaching this stuff over and over. And I don't know if the kids get smarter or dumber. I don't know which way is going, trending up or down, but I'm sure it has to be interesting to start teaching in '08 to 2024, and you can see like a dynamic change probably from when you started, how kids react to certain
mm,
things in the classroom and how they act now.
absolutely. And one of those things is all the changes we've seen in technology and social media. Because in 2008, we
Mm.
were just starting to see a few years of like Facebook, you know, had been around a couple years. And then where we are now, like I'm an English professor. So writing is a huge part of all of the classes that I teach. And now having to deal with AI and Chat GPT and Bard, and
Woo.
it's it's a struggle, but we truly do this work because we love to do it. Otherwise, I
So
don't know.
so that's a neat question too. So back in the day, they used to try to sniff out who was cheating on the English test and somebody else wrote the paper. So do you
Yeah.
look at, because I love Chat GPT, because I'll send a Chat GPT email in a second. I'm super professional. So how do you guys kind of sniff out like, oh, I think they cheated. I think she's using Chat GPT.
Okay, so I mean, I can't see who's in here, but let me put you on some game, right? So
We
when
got
you have a
parents. We
student,
got
right?
parents. We need people to know.
Well, no, I usually tell students this on the first day of class, especially if I'm teaching composition. Um, when you are a college student and you are given like a 2 to 3 page essay, that's not a really long essay. If you start writing and you sound like a first day freshman, and then halfway through the paper you start sounding like you wrote a dissertation because you start putting sentences
Oh,
together, like examining the trajectory of all of the land, that's not
yeah,
language
yeah,
that
yeah. They getting real wordy. They getting real wordy.
absolutely. And a lot of times it's a dead giveaway, like when sentences are simple ideas, all of a sudden halfway through a paragraph start to become very complex, or you start using phrases like the human condition will be examined, and it's like you're not talking about the
Yeah.
human condition, or you don't actually get to that. Like those are a lot of key, like content wise. But when we online and you submitting stuff, the easiest way to tell if somebody has written something or copied and pasted from online somewhere to somewhere else is, first of all, the text is black and then it goes to gray. And for someone like me who's been looking at
The
papers for a long time,
hyperlink thing.
the hyperlinks, smart
Oh my
quotes,
God.
where the quotation marks and commas are
Yeah.
straight instead of curved, like that stuff jumps out. So I immediately can tell what parts of an essay have been copied either from Google Docs into Word and then uploaded to Canvas or Blackboard. So those are just things like before I ever start actually reading to see what you wrote. Like, yeah, it's not.
So
It's
so what would you say the biggest improvement has been? Like, what are you seeing in these kids now that you like? Oh, like that's dope. Like I like this about the new kids.
well, no. So it depends on where I have been
Mm,
teaching. So I have taught at community colleges as an adjunct. I've taught at a PWI as an assistant as a assistantship grad student. I've taught at a HBCU as a full-time professor. I've taught at a lot of different places. Um, in places like Alabama, where there's everybody got a laptop, everybody got, you know, it's really interesting seeing how people are really creative. Like instead of writing a paper, if you tell somebody to do a presentation, like I think people are really, really creative with how they put stuff together using the technology that I have seen. Since all we had was PowerPoint.
yeah.
Now you got Prezi and Canva and all this other stuff that
Yeah.
allows people to do a bunch of different stuff. So I think that's definitely something that people do really good. Um, Different projects that like that's a really good improvement. And I think in my classes, just seeing students, especially ones that I've taught as freshmen, and then I get them again as like juniors and seniors, them being more confident, um, and being wrong in a classroom, having
Uh,
discussion. I'll never forget. I ain't gonna tell you where I was teaching when I when this happened, but I had a student ask me in African American lit one day, "What is lynching?" I
oh
was
wow.
never gonna be prepared for a college student, to ask me, like, "Excuse me, but what is lynching?" And I had to like stop, because I'm like, "What you mean? What is lynching?" But I had to like explain what it was, and when I did, she was like, "I had no idea." That was like 2015. So imagine being a student not knowing what lynching is in 2015. So those are the moments that I like appreciate as a professor working with students.
In the enlightenment. Jen, Zan, y'all got something?
Yeah, I do have something, and I'm sorry I had to mute my phone. My family just walked in. If you don't mind, Dr. Shay, tell me, what do you find most interesting? I mean, I don't know where you're working now, but I heard you say that you've worked at a PWI before and you've worked at a HBCU. Can you? Well, I guess this is two questions. With the African American students, do you see a difference in the work ethic in those kids, in those students that come from HBCU versus the PWI?
Absolutely not. And while we on this topic, let me tell you, I hate that HBCU versus PWI debate, and I'm gonna tell you why. Because
Yeah.
until you have been a student at both types of institution and been a faculty member at both types of institutions, I don't think you should have an opinion
Mhm.
about it, to the point where you're arguing people about what's better and what's not. Because at the end of the day, we know historically HBCUs have been underfunded. And we can get into some of the like legislative things that have happened to do that. But also, it, good students are at all of these institutions, whether they're community colleges, whether they're HBCUs, 2-year institutions, PWIs, large PWIs with huge endowments, regional PWIs. It's all about, what you get and what you put into the experience. But I have had students getting fellowships. I've had students doing internships at the United Nations. I've had students getting internships with Apple, and that's at all of these different institutions. And I also remember being a graduate, like I graduated from Tulu in 2006, and I started at HBCU, and then I got my master's degree from PWI, and then I went to a bigger PWI in a different state, and then I started teaching at a HBCU. So I've run the gamut on that, and I'll tell you, it's never the students at any of these institutions. It's the systemic issues at all of the institutions that need reform. So I
And
hope that
that
answers the question, and I
it
hope
does. It's
it's
amazing. I'm just. I hope that we have some viewers that are just really watching tonight because to just bring clarity to that question, we need
mm-hmm.
that. A student. I mean, if they're intelligent wherever they go, and so yeah.
And if they have the resources that they need to do whatever it is they want to do, that makes a difference too. Like certain schools have a whole lot more resources, which means they have a whole lot, more faculty from different places, bringing all different kinds of expertise in that smaller schools or underfunded schools may not have.
Right.
But there are very, very intelligent students at all of these places. And I'll tell students, because I'm also an advisor now, I would never tell a student to go to a certain school just because of blank reason. I'm always going to tell them, what do you want to do when you get this degree? What schools offer that degree? And how much money is it going to cost you to get that degree if you go to this place versus this place versus this place? And as a undergraduate student, there's a lot of scholarship opportunities out here that we need to be working towards as freshmen in high school. Um, but as a graduate student, there's no reason for you to have to pay tuition to go, because they're set up to pay you to attend. But if people don't put you on game to let you know certain stuff, then you end up with, 6-figure student loan debt with a degree that either you didn't finish or you don't need. So, my advice to anybody listening is figure out what you want to do, then determine how much is it going to cost me out of pocket to go,
Yeah,
and then
yeah.
make it.
I think a lot of times now they're trying to, I guess, water down the degrees. Like
Mm,
when we were in high school, it was like you got to go to college, you got to go to college, you got to go to college. But now it's like, you know what? You don't even need a college degree. We'll hire you, but we ain't gonna pay you what we should pay you with a college degree. We just gonna hire you. So it's leaving people in this weird place. And I think my biggest ding ding wake up call was once I graduated with my bachelor's, I realized the job that I studied and worked for didn't even exist anymore.
mm,
Technology and the work labor, like all that was moving so fast. It was business administration with a focus in entrepreneurship. But what happened was
mm,
they started to train assistant managers
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
to do the manager's job, or either they would cut out the assistant manager and teach all the shift leaders to do the assistant manager jobs and pay them less money. So the job didn't even exist anymore. And if it did, it didn't pay what it once was paid. And I was like, yo, that's, you know what I'm saying? So I think a lot
mm-hmm.
of times we'll get these jobs and get these interesting things, but you have to realize like how fast like time and technology is moving, and especially now with AI and automation, it's gonna probably be a nightmare in the next 5 to 6 years, which is crazy when I say that because it's not very long.
I agree. That's the reason why I said sometimes, like my entire time growing up, I just knew I was gonna be an attorney. Like I used to watch Perry Mason and Matlock, and I knew that was gonna be my thing. And then for like a year or so, I thought I was gonna major in music and be a band director, because
You was in
band.
the
And then
band heavy. I remember that. You was in the band
because
heavy.
yeah, that band spirit was on me pretty heavy, around junior senior year. But I ended up going to Tougaloo, and I was like, okay, Tougaloo doesn't have a band. I have no idea what I'm gonna do with my life. So you know how I picked my major? I looked at my ACT scores, and
Oh,
it said 28, 29 in the English, language. It said 17 in math. Like I ain't never really fooled with numbers ever. Like I still don't understand how I ended up in AP calculus senior year with Miss Hill. And I got out of there. But I promised myself that I would never find myself in a calculus class ever again after that.
but I think some students are just good students, kind of like what you say. And when I go and speak to kids and at different events or something, and I let them ask me questions, well, I'm like, I wasn't that fantastic of a student. I made good grades, but I really just didn't care for school. Like I
Mm,
went there because I had to go there, and I was smart enough to do the work, but it was more of a mandatory thing for me. I said, but what you don't want to become is a good test taker, and that's it. You spend so much time becoming a good test taker that you don't even understand that life is going on around you. When you get into the work world, the tests don't even exist no more. And Susie May is your boss because of nepotism. And now you're doing Susie May's job, and you look at like, what is going on here? So you're gonna have to learn how to smooth and network and move your way around, because being that way is very important. I think a lot of students miss out on it.
yeah, but we also have to remember, like, especially going from high school to like the undergraduate space, that high school counselor, um, shout out to
Mm-mm.
everybody who had a great one. Um,
We had
we
a
don't
horrible one.
we
Oh, I think she hit the button and she got zapped. There she goes. She's back.
but we helped us find our way. So I one of the things I always said, I wanted to be who I needed when I was going through the process. So that's how I approach like my teaching. That's how I approach like mentorship. And when people inbox me all the time, like asking me, stuff about like ACT or job and stuff, and I'm gonna give the information because I remember what it was like, going through not knowing about scholarships, not knowing about resources. Um, yeah, so I don't want anybody to have to go through the difficult stuff that I went through that almost took me out of academia altogether.
Gene, same, what you got?
So, Dr. Shay, my next question, I heard you say that you do like mentorship and women leadership, something
Mm-hmm.
like that.
Mm-hmm.
Can you speak to that? How like how can our viewers is there any way that our viewers could use your services? Can you tell us more about what you do?
Okay, so the women's leadership program is actually a graduate master's program
Okay.
in women's
Okay.
leadership. So,
Mm.
and I'm the director of it. So, if you
Um,
want to apply to get a
I
master's
got
in women's leadership, then hit me in the inbox and I give you the
um,
information so you could apply. But essentially, the way that program is structured, it is preparing students. Most of them are women, but I've had several male students as well, just to understand what leadership looks like for women across a bunch of different industries. And so I teach a lot of classes in women's leadership that reflect on, like, for example, I taught hip hop and gender for the first time last semester, but my focus is like 21st century African American lit with an emphasis in hip hop feminism, hip hop literature. So that's my thing, and I offer classes around that. Women's bodies and autonomy, Black women writers, women on display, like how we view women in like positions of like entertainment, government officials, what it looks like in the work world, in industry. And so that's what a lot of those classes look like. And it's a very interdisciplinary program. So we have people from like political science, business, philosophy. I'm like the English and gender women's studies person. And yeah, it's like a 2 year master's degree. And we have students from all over the world, international students, as well as students here in the US who are doing really well in the program. And I've graduated, I think, 6 students now since I've been the director of this program, which it keeps me very busy.
We're gonna have
But
to get a clap button. I gotta work on that. I gotta get like a little clap button so when people say something, clap or something, or everybody hit the
but
like button.
again, if anybody is interested in getting a master's in women's leadership, hit me in the inbox. You can do it completely online.
So when you say women in hip hop, so you coming from Roxanne Shante to Cardi B, Megan Thee Stallion, and what
Absolutely.
is that like? What is that? You talking about how they took control, like Queen Latifah with the education and the unity. Like how does that look? Like what is some of the you know?
Well, okay, so for hip hop and gender, I actually went on the first day of class, like I played Roxanne Shantae's Roxanne's Revenge. And on the last day of class, I played, it was Megan Thee Stallion, but I can't remember which song she had just, no, it was Traumazine. Because we were talking about mental health and how oftentimes, we already don't talk about mental health issues a lot in the Black community, but particularly when we think about women and how women show up expressing issues of like, mental health challenges, like what that looks like for different people. And so Megan, had just put out Anxiety on Traumazine. And so that's how I ended that particular class. But yeah, we talk about, again, I told you I'm a little sophisticated. And so we talk about women's bodily autonomy, women making decisions about their bodies for themselves. We talk about the idea of agency, like who gets to control, any
Yeah.
issues dealing with women, and particularly in this age where we see like Roe v. Wade being overturned. That was a huge issue that we talked about like last semester.
So do you have any particular artist that you lean to, or do you have a favorite, or do you just like to
Oh, absolutely.
hit
Now I
all
got some.
over the spectrum? Who's your favorite? Go. What's your favorite female rapper out there? Because that's an interesting question. Because I don't think I ever really thought about who's my favorite female rapper. Because I got a favorite rapper, but then when you talk about having a favorite female rapper, it's
Now,
like, oh, like
anybody who knows me know that my favorite rapper of all time is Sean Corey Carter. Jay-Z. Like, I don't argue about nothing, but I will argue until the day that I leave this earth that Takeover was better than Ether. and I don't care, right? But when it comes to women, um right now, like my favorite female rapper at this moment is Megan Thee Stallion. Like, and I have really enjoyed like seeing her go from Tina Snow, like when that blonde wig come out, like sign me up. but I also appreciate, because I'm a English professor who does a lot of like intertextual analysis with like books and lyrics and reading stuff and applying. And so I really appreciate like the lyrical content over her last couple of albums, specifically with Traumazine, because she was talking more about like mental health. But I also, again, you find me in my car with my music up. Like I may have had a city girl, moment. I really appreciate Amaretta. I do like Lotto. I like Lizzo. I like, of course, classic like Missy Elliott. I used to think I was gonna be Mia X when I was a No Limit Soldier. Like, I mean, I
If you
listen
was in the
to,
South, I think anybody in the
yeah,
South kind of went through that Mia X phase where it was a woman. They had to
yeah,
with the Ghetto Twins and
absolutely.
LeChat. When I think about female rappers, LeChat comes
Uh-huh,
to mind. Gangsta Boo.
uh-huh.
Uh, now, like you said, my favorite rapper of all time will be Hov because look, as an English major, you said you looking for that because he's the king of the double entendre. He's coming
Triple
like that, triple and double. He's coming like that. But when I think of female rappers, oddly enough, Lauren Hill kind of scoots in there, and she's technically not a rapper, I guess, but she kind of
Now, now,
scoots
now
in there
see, we're
somehow.
not gonna do Lauren like that. I know she gave us one album, but the Miseducation of Lauren Hill,
It's a
she,
classic.
because I actually talked about that in Hip Hop and Gender, right? Like, she is giving rap and she's giving vocals
Hmm.
in ways that we just have not seen.
She was
Um,
draking. She was draking
right.
before it was draking. Like she was really doing the. It's a different level because Drake is Drake, of course.
You know what?
I'm not
I'm
the
dying.
biggest Drake fan. I'm
I
not the
am.
biggest Drake fan.
I
I'm
don't.
not saying it's the same, but the audience has to be able to relate because some of these people that watch this may not even been alive when the Miseducation of Lauren Hill came out and don't even know who the Fugees are. So we gotta give them to understand like singing and rapping ain't nothing new. People been doing
No,
it.
it's not.
I ain't gonna bring up Robert because he got his
No,
own set of
please,
problems.
please, please don't. Like,
I'm not bringing up Robert.
yeah, yeah. So part of being this hip hop crunk feminist space that I am leaning into even more the more research that I do is that my personal politics start to
Mm.
inform how I can take in entertainment. So when I tell you that my favorite rapper right now is Megan Thee Stallion, and it is not somebody else, it's because my personal politics won't allow me to entertain foolishness. And I cannot deal with like toxicity in any kind of way. So back when I used to teach like the hip hop wars is like the undergraduate
Ooh.
version of that class, which I did teach last semester as well. And so as a professor who is doing this hip hop stuff, I often have to talk about the people that I cannot stand who have come, given stuff to the culture. So there will be a time where I'll talk about Aubrey, but right now Aubrey is giving toxic masculinity, I ain't gonna say
How
what I was
so?
finna
Give
say.
it to me. How so? Give us the short version, the inebriated version. This is good for the internet.
Well, 2 days ago he posted that free Tory Lanez picture, and so that's what I mean. Like, people
Oh
who
yeah, the little
this
trolling, the trolling,
exactly,
the
like,
trolling.
I can't deal with it. Like, I have to, in certain places I have to talk about Nicki Minaj as a female rapper who has had a great
An
career and done
amazing
all
run.
these things. And then I also have to be like, y'all, I can't stand Onika Mirage. I don't like the person. But I also want to point out, like, here is what she has contributed to hip hop, and here's what that meant for women. And here is where those personal politics and what we want for Black women going forward, here's where she missteps and why she saw herself being dragged for like a full month because she was being a horrible person. But so those are like the tensions that we find ourselves, dealing with. And so one of the questions in that class is literally, what do you do when you love hip hop, but it doesn't always love you back? And I don't have the answer to that yet, but it's the question that I use to kind of frame that, because as a person who loves hip hop, I had to put Kanye West to the side. I have to put Drake to the side, and I got to put Nicki in the trash right now because the politics ain't doing what it needs to do.
Yeah, I had to release Kanye as well. I
Yep.
don't care how good Dark Twisted Fantasy was. I got to let you go, bro.
I think we all release Kanye.
He was doing too much tap dancing, too much. It's too much. It's just certain times you got to realize it's too much. So, Zane, go. It looked like you had something, Xander.
This is amazing to me because, um, it brings me back to the movie Brown Sugar.
Was
Ah,
they?
yeah. Brown sugar.
This, how they depicted hip hop. So yeah, I love this, and we're just gonna have to do a whole episode just on hip hop. Sounds like, because
Because we could do that.
it's
Because I was
amazing.
trying not to get
Yeah.
too deep. I was trying not to get too deep because we was talking hip hop wars. And well, let me ask this, and this will kind of go into something else. Um, the whole drill culture. How do you feel drill culture has affected these youths? Because I see it on my side, so I know what it looks like. And drill rap, I don't, drill rap to me feels like a plague amongst our people. Um, I don't. So coming from a higher mind, maybe you can inform us what drill rap looks like in academia when you try to break it down for somebody.
Well, again, back before I had to put that man to the side because I don't want to talk about certain things that I don't like about Kanye because I know he is unmedicated and there's a lot of stuff happening there, and I don't want to talk about it until he is fully himself on the meds, and then I can be like, and here are all the things that I can't stand. So I just don't want to do that energy right now. But I used to start the first day of the hip hop wars with Chief Keef, the remix
I
of Don't
don't
Like,
like.
because that was my jam. But again, I had to restructure how I did that, because if I just come in playing all these super problematic people and I'm doing this, like hip hop feminists, and we're talking about like disentangling ourselves from oppressive systems of like sexism, classism, racism, like I can't come into class playing Don't Like remix and all this other stuff and ignoring all the problematic behavior behind. There's a reason why I don't fool with Dr. Dre. Like, we're talking about women, people who abuse women in a women's leadership like it, that don't work. It don't curl
Mm,
all the way over. So when it comes to
I didn't.
drill,
And you
like
know what? I'm gonna pause you for a second because sometimes we don't think about that, and it's like sports. When somebody's winning, it's the best
mhm.
deodorant, and we don't smell them. We don't smell the stinking. We don't smell the mustiness. But they be done did so much to the people and the other people, we don't think about it. Because if you got money and you winning, everything cool, everybody's happy. And you know what? It slipped my mind with Dr. Dre choking the lady out, all this extraness. Like
it
it
can't.
really.
It can't. And I just, again, right, we have to do a better job of recognizing harm, even if it's not directly impacting us at the moment. Because if we do that, then we start with holding people accountable the first time they do stuff, right? And not 15, 25 years later when they have an award named after them and they performing at the Super Bowl. Like, anyway, I don't want us to get into cancel culture, but all of these things kind of like come up with how I teach these specific classes, because if I didn't address these issues, then I would be irresponsible as a professor who is, supposed to be teaching certain things. But also, these are my personal politics that align with the research that I'm doing. So again, this is how I find myself in education, doing this particular work, teaching these particular things, because it's in me. It's got to be in you. It ain't be on you, right?
Hey, look, Oliver said accountability the first time. He wants
Mm-hmm.
they want the accountability the first time it happens, holding people accountable, holding their feet to the fire. um, and all of that. That makes sense. Charlie, I ain't seen Charlie in a while. That's another CS resident.
Hey, Mr. Brian.
Look, the reason we
Absolutely.
can't listen to R. Kelly
Can't
right now,
do it.
it's very hard. It's very hard to listen to Robert. And when we get on social media and we see people saying, "Oh, R. Kelly would win a versus if he did one right now," well, it ain't gonna happen because Robert's gone. He's never coming back for a long time. Robert's locked up, so Robert won't be home no time soon.
And just think
Zan,
about
you
it,
muted.
if we hold him accountable in the 90s, he probably been out and served his time. And think about all the people who would have been saved in between there. Same with. Anyway, that's
Mystical's the same way. Mystical was another one that we forget about. Mystical was the same
again,
way.
I thought I was going to be a no limit soldier, but the downfall of no limit happens when he goes to jail for that first assault. Then he gets
True.
out and does it again. Right?
Right.
So
Repeat offender. He was a
yeah.
repeat
Right.
offender. Hey, he said it preaching the first time. So okay, we done got into all that.
Okay.
Now,
Say something.
now, go ahead, Gene. What you got?
Zandra's trying to say something.
She muted. I don't know what she's trying to say.
Oh, sorry, Zan.
Type it in the
I don't know what
comments.
Zane's trying to say.
Type it.
Yeah, you might have typed it, right? But I can't see it. But um, we also said we was gonna get into a little Black history tonight. So yo, if
I
anybody got any Black history questions, any Black history topics that we feel like we need to discuss, and it's always a lot because whew, Black people, we done been through a lot. We
I
going
have
through
a
a lot.
pop quiz. I got a pop quiz for the panelists and the comments. I can't see the comments, but the people who are
I'm gonna
watching.
put him on the screen. I'm gonna put him on the screen so you can see him.
Because you asked for a little mini, not a mini lecture, but a mini discussion. And
Yeah,
so
we was gonna discuss like we doing. It's free flowing.
yeah,
It's free flowing.
yeah. So before we get into that, I just wanted to give like a little pop quiz because again, I never assume when I go into okay, Dr. Raymond. I'm
He
gonna
said,
come
"Who
back
is
to
your favorite historical figure?"
you. I'm gonna say Zora Neale Hurston because I have read a lot, a lot from Zora Neale Hurston. Dr. Raymond is the creator of the Zora Challenge. So if you were on Instagram or Bookstagram, um, he has brought a
Bookstagram.
lot of
I liked
yeah,
it.
Bookstagram. No, seriously, Instagram. There's an entire community of book people and book content, and I created a book.
Zandra?
Can you
It's
hear
called
me now? That's down my lane. Can you hear
Yeah,
me?
Zandra the
See,
book.
I
Zandra
came
the
in
book
right on
lady.
time.
yeah, so definitely Zora Neale Hurston, because I feel like I have learned a lot more about her
Listen,
in the past 2 or 3 years since I've been on Bookstagram, and a lot of it is thanks to Dr. Raymond.
What you got for us? You
books,
say you got some. You gonna put
bookstagram.
some
You
stuff
said
out here. Bookstagram.
bookstagram. Okay.
Dr. Raymond, if you write it in the comments, I'll put it on the screen so everybody can go follow the
Yeah,
Bookstagram or whatever we got to do, so we can get you some.
And also the
if you are on
Zora.
Instagram, you can type in the hashtag the Zora Challenge. And this year he is reading James Baldwin, and so the Baldwin Challenge hashtag is how you. But yeah, if you go on Instagram and just follow the hashtag Bookstagram or Black Bookstagram, all of your content suggestions is gonna start showing you a bunch of book people. But it is a thriving community over there, and there's a community on YouTube, a booktube community, and book talk
Okay.
on TikTok.
Yeah, type that in the comments, somebody, and I'll put it on the screen, and we can make that live forever. So you know what I'm
And you
saying?
can
We'll.
find me over on Bookstagram at a book doctor. That's my book content page if you want to check out what we're doing.
Ooh, they coming for you quick.
Listen,
Okay.
I'll be there. I'll see you later.
So,
Okay.
somebody wants to know, could you briefly discuss any challenges you have experienced being a Black female moving through academia?
We don't have all day, so I will just give you some of a few of those challenges. one, imposter syndrome, never really feeling like I
Mm,
was good enough to be in academia. That started my very first day in the master's program going in, where I felt like, I thought I had read a lot of books because all I did was read until I went into a graduate class where everybody was talking about things I have never heard of, all the isms, Marxism, feminism, capitalism, and feeling like I was playing catch up in a way. And sometimes I still struggle with that, being on the other side, having, gotten the degrees and went through the 10-year process. So definitely dealing with imposter syndrome, but also the microaggressions, the micro and macroaggressions, particularly being microaggressed during February, Black History Month, they be feeling real macro. So people will absolutely try you um, in a lot of different ways. I have been in many spaces where I was the only Black person, the only Black woman, and feeling like I had to again work twice as hard to get half as far, always questioning myself like, I really do not like public speaking or doing anything public facing like this, because in my head I feel like I haven't done enough, to do anything or to share this kind of information. And so it is something that we have to unlearn, and it takes years and years and years to do it. But the thing that helps navigating that in academia is having a support system, a mentor who has been where you're trying to go, and who's like, what, I recognize that you need this particular kind of support or this particular kind of help, and I want to step in and provide that. And if I can, I want to direct you. Um, so and then in general, asking for help, like, is something I struggle with in my real life, but even more so as a professional moving through academia, like asking for help and trying to figure out, is this going to be used against me in some weird way? Do I have community? Do I have support? Or I got to get it out the mud and figure it out, myself?
but
Is
but
my work important?
but but I think that's why it's important to have people at a school like you, whether it's PWI,
Mm-hmm.
especially where the the mindset may be different. You get what I'm saying? Like a
Mm-hmm.
child could walk in that comes from a community that nobody understands but you, and they gonna
Yeah.
come talk to you because you can speak the language they speaking. So when you say, "Have you done the work?" The work is there. You see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Uh, to use a wild analogy, like Macho Man say, the cream will rise to the top, baby. You there? You where you need to be. So all you have to really do is just understand, like them kids really need you, because like even at Jackson State, if it wasn't for some of my mentors, I wouldn't have made it through, because I wouldn't, mentally sometimes as kids, because that's what you are when you're in college. You're a kid.
Mm-hmm.
You don't know nothing. You think you know something, but you don't know nothing. So very much so it's there for you. Um Wholeheartedly. So yeah, you've done the work. Like you said, you've been teaching since '08. The work is there.
And I'm still doing the work. I'm pretty sure I got some
Hmm.
emails waiting to be responded to now.
That's
This is a
important,
good.
right? We got something else.
Oh, she was about to drop the quiz on us. She was gonna say something
Oh,
about
Oh
the
okay,
yeah.
okay.
quiz.
All right. So before we start talking about, like, in the last couple of minutes, the Reconstruction period, right? So have y'all ever heard people say, like, I'm so tired of these slave movies. I'm so tired of, seeing Black trauma. Like, y'all remember when 12 Years a Slave came out? Like, everybody was like,
Hmm.
oh, yeah, here we go again. Everybody was getting Oscar nominations. And so I was like, people say they tired of slave stuff a whole lot, but I don't think people know enough about slavery, like, for real. So that's one of the things, like, when I'm teaching African American lit, the first question I ask on the first day is, when was slavery abolished? So that's the first question I want to ask y'all.
Ooh,
When was slavery
ooh,
abolished?
wee. Can I Google?
No,
It was
ma'am.
like
It's
a
a pop
well,
quiz.
well, it happened.
If you watching, put it in the comments.
Yeah, y'all can
Yes.
put it in the
Go ahead.
comments. I'll
This is
I'll
what we
post it
say.
up.
Phone a friend.
Phone a friend, use a lifeline, whatever y'all gotta do. What I can say is I know it
Just give
happened
me your best
before.
guess.
Well, it happened before Juneteenth because Juneteenth is when the people found out they was
That's
free,
true.
but they was already free on paper, but they weren't
Okay,
technically free. Okay,
ma'am over here is typing 1860.
1860s,
Miss
Yes,
LaFleur,
1860.
65, 1865. Is that right?
now did
See,
you know that or did you have to go research it?
it's on
I
the
did
screen.
a lot to you, Doc. I researched. I'm like Mr. Porter. I
I
knew
know.
it was 1860s, but I did not know it was 1865. Okay,
So
come on.
wait, so
That's
wait,
good.
so wait. I'm gonna stop you before you go any further. Mr. Bryce Porter, also a CS alumni,
Come
is
on,
an
man.
educator.
Is this
He
Mr.
is an
Porter that taught
educator.
me pre-algebra back in seventh grade?
And we also have another doctor, Dr. Samantha Murphy. That is actually my sister. She is at, I ain't gonna
So
say her university name, but
Yeah,
she is
don't put
also the doctor. I ain't gonna put her out there. So we got some educators on here to help us all out. So keep going.
yeah. So did anybody write something other than 1865 in the comments? Like I can't see.
no, everybody,
Nah, nah, nah.
that's it. The
1860s and
1860.
1865. Right.
Okay, so yeah, 1865 is but y'all would not believe some of the answers to that question. Um, More often than not, I have had students say 1920, and I'm like, slavery was abolished during the Harlem Renaissance.
Hmm.
I had the latest one. Somebody was like 1958, and I was like,
That's
so
Jim Crow, right? That's
slavery was abolished right when we heading into the civil rights movement.
yeah, that's like Jim Crow era.
Very few times when I ask that question does anybody say anything that's like 18 anywhere near 60. So that's what I mean by yes, 1920. So that's what I mean by, we are real comfortable saying I'm so tired of slave this, but what do you actually know
Well,
about
I
it, right?
think I think what happens, this is my theory. This is just a theory. Anytime you see Lorraine Hotel, Martin Luther King, Malcolm X, it's always in black and white. Even though they got color pictures of the same incident, they show it in black and white, like it was real, real old, but it's about 60 to 70 years old, which is the age of our parents. So it's when a younger person sees it, I think it throws them off. You get what I'm
But
saying?
but these are older people too. Like these are non-traditional college students. I mean, we're looking like ages 18, 19 up to like 30, 40 years old. Like
I see that comment. Dr.
Right.
Williams says, I had a
Dr.
student one time say that George Jefferson was a founding
Oh boy.
father.
yeah,
And,
yeah.
and Weezy was the first lady.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
Yes, she
again, it's
was.
it's no judgment. It's just always a good place to start. So next question, right? So what do you know about the 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendment? I'm not gonna ask you when, but what did the 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendment do? Starting with
It,
the 13th Amendment.
I think it was that's when it made it legal to own people as property or something to that effect.
Other ideas?
Like
I want to
indentures.
hear like what
Yeah,
everybody think, and then I'll tell you the else.
Was
it was a
13. 13
um
Baby, you
was
you you googling down.
slavery was abolished.
Okay,
slavery
Okay.
was
so
abolished.
again, people don't know like what these amendments did. So the 13th
Yeah.
Amendment outlaws slavery in 1865.
Because I watched the doc about it. I really should know the 13th Amendment.
But I think we all should know, right? So then 14th.
So that's what I was thinking about what Dr. Williams, I mean Mr. Williams is saying, involuntary servitude, which turns into jail, which turns into the
Exactly.
crack era,
Come
which
on,
turns
LL
into
Husband. Come on.
yeah, so I gotta know this. So like
Yeah.
in my job, it's very striking because I can see it in real time. Like it's hard to see something in real time and you seeing it in the youth in real time. It's very, very alarming because it does
Yeah.
not stop. Pipeline to
And
prison, what
so
she just said.
when we're thinking about the end of like enslavement, right? You have all right, slavery is going to be no more, it's illegal. What was the Emancipation Proclamation specifically? Like, what did it do?
Mm.
Nothing.
Well, it
Mm.
didn't do anything really,
Nothing.
but let's just say if we talking about what
Nothing.
it did. It didn't do
Yeah.
Or
anything.
what it was supposed to do?
Mhm.
It was
Nothing.
supposed to free the slaves the first time, wasn't it?
Exactly. So
Because
when
that
we
was the
say
original. We gonna free. Hey, y'all go ahead and do your thing. That was the
yes,
original. Y'all good. Go ahead.
we're the first of the next coming year, right?
Yeah,
And so when we're talking about like what does the end of enslavement going into the Reconstruction period look like, it's on the one hand you've got this president saying, okay, slavery is gonna be outlawed starting in January, and people being like, nah, we cool on it, and then them having to figure out a way to enforce these, new laws, and people just got out of a civil war because they wanted to continue to have slaves. So when people say the Civil War was about states' rights, it was about the states' rights to own
that's
and continue
crazy.
slavery. But again, we had to have a second like thing. So this amendment, the 13th. All right. So the 14th Amendment, what did it do?
That was. It's all related. I'm trying to think.
Baby,
I
this
think
is
this is
when
what
it
we.
really gets good.
Yeah, I was trying to think. We was just talking about this. Like,
Mm.
I think that's when they go to jail. It was something to that effect. They all right there related. You can own a person. It was something to that effect. I can't. I don't want to go too deep because the tequila is
It's
talking
okay.
a little
You
bit.
you were passing the class. You were. You were doing
Yeah, yeah.
good.
Oh,
Right.
citizenship rights. Raymond says the citizenship.
Citizenship.
Okay,
All right. So the 14th Amendment is 1868. So 3 years after we get, the
Free.
abolition of slavery, we have to have another amendment that gives African Americans equal protection under the law, making them citizens. Because remember, we had the 3/5 compromise
ooh,
that
that's what I
said,
was thinking
you
about.
know, your slaves down here, if we gonna create this new union, they can't be counted as a whole person, because then we have to give the southern states, slaveholding states, we have to give them more representation in this new House of Representatives. So we're gonna give you 3/4 of a person, 3/5 of a person, right? So we want to be equal citizens now and part of the society. 15th Amendment. What did
Ooh,
that
we
do?
going down the road. We
This is the
going down
last
the road.
amendment, but it's important, right? What the 15th Amendment do? Whew,
I'm
y'all
blanking
wasn't
on
gonna
that
make
one.
it through my class.
I wasn't blanking on that one.
By
Voting
that time, we
rights.
would have studied.
Tasha
Go
says voting
ahead,
rights.
Tasha. Voting rights
Nata-
for who? Gotta be
oh,
more
black.
specific.
Dr. Raymond says black men to give the voting rights.
Exactly. Do you know how many people had no idea that black men were actually given the right to vote for a short amount of time? Well before we get that Voting Rights Act in
Well,
civil
not
rights.
only that, you had the KKK turning people away from the polls even when they found out. So once they found out, oh, we could go vote and get some representation, the Klan and the people kept you from voting.
But
So
this was 1870 right. So you see, like, it took 5 years from the abolition of slavery to becoming equal citizens, and then black men getting the right to vote. Well,
not
during
black
this
women.
time period, we've had this women's suffrage movement with people like Susan B. Anthony and Sojourner Truth and Mariah Stewart, all out here saying, you know what, women need the right to vote. Like, and then white women in 1870, like, I'll be damned if black men gonna get the right to vote before we do. And so then we have to have a conversation amongst ourselves. It's like, you know what? We're going to have to find a little space over here in black feminism to talk about the stuff that's affected black women, because this organized around your own oppression. And, we all want the right to vote, but we got to wait for the white women to get the right to vote first. Like, all of this is happening around the same time. But we're going to stick to black people. So we go from 1870. In 1877, what do you think happens when black men get the right to vote in 1870? Because
Didn't they put in a tax? Didn't they put in a tax to where you had to pay a poll tax and they couldn't afford the poll tax, so they still couldn't vote? Is that the thing?
well, so the problem is, you can say, everybody can vote, but enforcing it is an issue. And so
Yeah,
what happens when you see any type of progress happen in Congress?
it changed. The law
The
changes.
people who lose, right, they spend the rest of that term in the next one electing people who are going to undo those protections. And so that's what we
Hmm.
see in 1877. The federal government, all the protections that they put in the South, the creating of the Freedmen's Bureau, that put money into educating blacks, and colleges created a lot of our A&Ms, like Alabama A&M, and all those HBCUs. A lot of them have their roots in the Freedmen's Bureau, specifically when we talk about like Booker T. Washington and Tuskegee and like Fisk. They get created during this time period. But once the federal government withdraws their troops out of the South, and like, you know what? We abolished the slaves, we made you citizens, and you can rather right to vote. We through. The minute that they pull out of the South, all of those protections are rolled back. Congress changes. We start to see a rise in the Klan. We start to see a rise in lynching. We see another wave of migration of Black people running out of the South. Ida B. Wells is writing about, the lynching epidemic that literally nobody is talking about. A red record, if you're interested in reading about that. While everybody is like, oh, Booker T. Washington versus W.B. Du Bois, but people like Ida B. Wells is out here from Mississippi in Memphis, out here talking about some, we got Black people hanging from trees, and nobody's really talking about it. So this is the kind of stuff that is in danger of being banned, because when should you have learned all this stuff that you had no idea about?
Yeah.
You're not gonna get it K through 12. Because if you have the word Black in something, you about can't read it or teach it in a lot of places. Everybody is not going to college, and they won't end up in my African American lit class to get this information. So the question then is, are you gonna learn it so that you can teach your kids this vital
They
information?
they won't even go to the Civil Rights Museum. So we know that's not happening. This right there in Jackson. And if you ever
Yep.
want to go, if you, I don't know if anybody's not been, if you get a chance to go to the Civil Rights Museum in Jackson, you can see the names of all the people lynched on that thing. Man, it's massive and it's overwhelming. To see a KKK robe
Mm-hmm.
up close and personal, it is very disturbing. So it's a lot of stuff right here. Even if you go over by Mega Evers, you can still drive by Mega House. It's right
Mm-hmm.
there off Mega Evers. It's not hidden. You know what I'm saying? It's right there off a little beach trail off Mega Evers Boulevard. And we got a lot of stuff now. Like you said, we got to teach these kids, teach them what we want them to know. You know what I'm saying? Teach them that Christopher Columbus ain't discovered America. You got to just tell them. You got to tell them the truth. But they're gonna be dangerous with the truth. So they might get put out of class,
Yeah.
but they're
Well,
gonna be dangerous with the truth.
Hove told us the only Christopher we acknowledge is Wallace, and I stand by that.
100%. So G and Zen, y'all been super quiet. J- like this is
I
unusual.
got
What?
internet connection issues, so mine's is coming in and out. But I've enjoyed this thoroughly, and Jen's trying to say something that she's been knocked out and in and out too. So, um, I've
You
enjoyed
know,
this thoroughly. Go ahead, Jen.
Oh, yeah, yeah, I have too. And I have to just confess, because after we learned a little in junior high, and then I took some courses at Jackson State, but I'm gonna be honest, I'm not up to par as I should be. And a
Not at all.
conviction me, because I'm saying I knew this stuff. And if you don't know your history, you go repeat it. And so I talk about that all the time. And I agree with you all. Listen, I'm the first to say when I'm wrong. And so it's like, you know what? But it was a challenge for me tonight. And Dr. I really appreciate you, because I'm going back to pick up some of these books that my mama have in this house, to
listen.
learn and refreshing my memory about our history. Yep.
Well,
This was
one thing I'm always gonna do when I see you, I'm gonna give you a book recommendation. So I came prepared with a few.
Look
If
at
you
there.
listen, because I'm a book girl for real.
I
So
listen. We're
check
Let
the
me
this
put the
same.
out.
let me put the book club back up on the thing so everybody can get that too. Black
1619
Bookstagram.
Project.
What is that? I
Oh,
The
can't
I
see it.
watched the doc.
1619 Project. So there is a reason why we automatically went into a panic and started trying to ban books. Because the 1619 Project is a really good comprehensive book that's
Okay.
going to take you through a lot of the history that we just kind of glossed over, but it's also going to contextualize a lot of the current issues that we, face that has roots in the transatlantic slave trade and beyond. So absolutely pick up the 1619 Project. And if you don't want to read the whole book, go watch the series that's on Hulu. Because a
But
lot of
look,
those chapters
look.
are in there.
Now you done brought out all the CS alumni. We got
Come on,
Frederick
Dr.
Smith in the
Smith.
Yeah, he's another doctor in the comments. You feel what I'm saying? So I've seen Fred on what is it? The other internet show. What's the name of it? Tell me. I'm blanking right now. Is it
Ministry.
Black with No Chaser? Was he on Black with
Yeah,
No Chaser?
yeah,
Black with No Chaser. You can catch him on Black with No Chaser. He another CS alumni. Man, I love to see everybody, going up, bro.
yeah. A second one, and I probably I can give this away. I have a extra copy of Clint Smith's "How the Word Is Passed." Is a recent release, and this is a reckoning with the history of slavery across America. Again, cannot recommend this book enough. Clint Smith also has a lot of short YouTube videos where he breaks down a lot of like really complex concepts with like a crash course, so they're really short. So definitely recommend that. And I would never leave without recommending A Black Woman. So Bell Hooks, All About Love, New Visions, and My Black Women Taught Us by Dr. Jen Jackson. An intimate history of Black feminism. This one actually just came out earlier this month. Add it to your collection. So
You
if
What's
might
you
the
have
want
to go back and drop them in the comments or
Yeah,
something.
what's the name of the last
Also,
one? That one? What is it called?
Black Women Taught Us by Dr.
Okay,
Jen Jackson.
got it.
So again, I'm a book doctor on Instagram, Bookstagram. If you want more book content or more academic stuff, that's me.
man, it feel
You
like we
just
didn't have enough
you just
time, bro.
I know you just got a new book follower because I
Come
that's where
on up.
I'm at in my that's my headspace lately is give me a good book so
Yeah,
that I can dive into it and dissect it and do what I need to do to make me better as well. So
yeah. And don't
you
get it
just
twisted. Like I read a lot of academic stuff, but I told you I'm sophisticated. So I read a lot of stuff. Just like I listen to a lot of music.
Doc-
Um, uh,
Hey, Shundale
you
is
do
100% right.
yes, you do
She
deserve your
deserves her
flowers.
flowers,
Yes,
man.
yes.
Y'all
Thank
put
you
some
so
hearts up, put
much.
some likes up, whatever it may be, man. And see, a lot of times, bro, we look, Fred. We can keep going, Fred. I'm self-employed. I don't got to get up in the morning. So
I'm off
if
work.
anybody will say, we can keep going, bro. It doesn't matter. I want to talk about redlining. I want to talk about all type of stuff. The GI Bill. We just didn't have enough time. So
li-
if she want to
that,
stay, we can stay,
that,
bro.
that,
Or we can
listen,
do a part two.
We can do a part
we can
two.
we're gonna have to do a part two because I my day started at 4 a.m. I've been working.
Yeah.
I ain't gonna
So
lie, like
Doc,
I've been
as
working.
you as as we leave before we get to part two, tell us which book you would recommend before we get to part two. Which book would you like us to start with? Because I have been truly now listen. This
1619
may
Project.
this okay. So this listen. I've been trying to get a book club started. So here we go. We are going to do the 1619 project. It's official.
So
You know, God ordains things, and I'm so happy that this happened because I've been trying to do this book club, y'all. I really have.
We talked about this. We actually did talk about this. But it's so much when we talk about our people, we can just keep going and keep going and keep going up
Yeah.
into present day. That is a matter of fact, man. We sit back and like somebody asked us to have some activists on. I think I'm gonna have some activists on. Um, some of the people that helped out with the Goon Squad case because I kind of was in that. Like I want to let these people talk, man. They was part of the new Black Panther Party.
Hmm.
Attorney Shabazz, Miss Cheryl Potts, like some of these people, we got to get them on here because a lot of times you just like, oh, I went to school with this person, but I don't
Hmm.
look at it like that. Or I know him from down the street, whatever it may be. Everybody's somebody, especially when
Mhm.
they're doing their job at a high level. So, as Birdman would say, we got to put some respect on people's name when they're doing things at a high level. You get what I'm saying?
Yes.
Everybody, you know, they'll sit up and kiki and laugh at that. Oh, they just doing a little show. But if we out here celebrating each other, we leveling up. You get what I'm saying? And they not doing nothing. So you don't have to worry about that. Just keep
Yeah.
moving forward in the world. So oddly enough, when you talked about imposter syndrome, I think everybody suffers that when you black and you doing a lot.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? As we say, doing the most. When we doing the most, when we doing a lot, you go through there because a lot of times white people don't experience that being the only white person in the room. It never happens to them in their life. But when you move into certain rooms in certain ways, when you black, you might be the only black person in the entire room, and it can be a lonely situation. So, like,
Yeah.
I still appreciate you coming on, man. All
Oh,
that.
Yes, yes.
anytime,
I'm
Jen, Zan,
excited.
y'all got some
Yes,
parting words?
I'm
yes.
really
No, thank you so much. I'm excited for what the future about to go, who we're about to go with this. Um, be on the lookout. You're gonna see my name pop up. Sis, can you help me
no,
out? I need a new book.
I'll be looking
So
for it. And
yes, I'm
there are a lot of buddy reads and read alongs and stuff that happens on Instagram, well, on the Bookstagram community, and so you will find a lot of people who will be willing to like jump in and talk about, because there's a lot happening in this book. You could have a whole series just on
yes.
1619 Project alone, but I
Oh, we
definitely
oh
recommend just starting there.
we
Yo,
about to. We about
Yo,
to.
Fred, honestly, bro, I be wanting it to happen all organically. So we don't be wanting to do a lot of paid promotions. We don't do a lot of pushing. We want the people to be here. If it's 20 people here or if it's 5 people here, we know they want to be here. So I might have to get into it a little bit more. We'll talk about it, but definitely. And oddly enough, I was walking past the TV one day and I'm hearing this dialogue about black people. I'm like, I think I know the voice, but I think I'm tripping. You know what I'm saying? But my wife's watching it on the TV. I walk back past the TV and I'm like, I went to high school with this dude. I'm like, that's Fred. And she like, you. I'm like, yeah. I'm like, like so. It's all a movement, man. It's inspiring to see people do things that so you know everything is possible. Because Black with No Chase is a big show, and so any advice from him, I'm taking it. You get what I'm saying? Like, you got to understand when people know stuff, they know stuff. So you got to understand where it's coming from.
All
Well,
right.
thank you for inviting me and working with me in my schedule and all the stuff that I had going on. Because one thing I really, really do is I want to support the people who came up, especially those from Crystal Springs and in those areas. So I'm really excited about what you're doing with this platform, and we need more positivity in podcasts because Lord knows it's enough of the
That
negative ones out there. So
Jen, what
keep
you
doing
got?
what
You
you're
got
doing.
something?
Yeah, no, I'm like Zandra. I'm ready to get up. I'm going to order this 619 project. And
Right
Dr. Shay,
now.
from the bottom of our heart, we thank you and we honor you and we look forward to speaking with you really soon.
I'm gonna have to rewatch the doc because I watched the doc, but I'm gonna have to rewatch the doc again. I got the attention
You
span of a gnat.
just go on and read the book. It's gonna blow
I
Read
your
the
got the
mind.
book.
attention span of a gnat. I got too much to do, man. I'm
We're
probably
going
gonna
to
be
get you
later.
the book. We're going to get you the book anyway. How
It's
about
a
that?
waste of time. I'm not gonna read it. I'm gonna have to watch the doc. I ain't gonna. I don't lie to people. I might lie for you, but I ain't gonna lie to you, baby. I'm not gonna read the book. So ain't no. The last book I read was Guy Kawasaki, The Art of the Start, and it's a business book in the 48 Laws of Power. Um, Tasha is one of my best friends. She knows me best. She says audio book.
She
Might get
do.
me with an audio book. Y'all could
Yeah,
give me if you
audio
give me
read.
any audio book, I'll listen to it. I take that back. I listen to the autobiography of Malcolm X on audio
Okay,
book. I listen to that one. Like I'm into that. I
go
just
get your.
told Shay I'm probably gonna listen to Marcus Garvey next if I can get a chance. One of his books because I kind of want to get into what he's talking about.
So as y'all know, we're going to do the 1619 project. Go ahead and order your book. As I order the book tonight, I will post it on our platform and we will get this book club started so that we're ready. We're gonna start it soon. So I'll post all that information. So I'm excited. I'm excited. I'm excited.
Yeah,
So
100%.
my
Anytime you want to come
I'm
back,
ready.
bro, like just hit us up. Like it's a
Will.
free, we free marketing. Fred, if you want to come on, bro, you can probably give us some game about the podcast game. If you want to
Hey,
come on,
that's your resident mental health professional right
yeah,
there, Doctor.
listen. So anytime you want to come on, because they talked about doing mental health another day.
We did.
Just as far as guys going and black people going in general. Um, I live in the house with a therapist, which it ain't helping me none, but I still go to therapy. Don't get me wrong. But I still go to therapy. But yeah, like 100%, man. We're gonna have to get some more people on here. And I just want to keep leveling up, man, from people that we know and we doing all this work and it need to be seen. And I don't even know how to word it no other way. You know what I'm saying? You just think
Mm-hmm.
about it. We got Bryce Porter, educator, um, Dr. Samantha Murphy, Dr. Fred Smith, like Dr. Shaye. Like, if people, the only doctors I knew at first was Dr. Ice. And if you're from CS, you know Dr. Ice.
Icon,
And
icon,
he
first.
was a he was a he was an icon. You feel me?
So
He was an
yes.
icon.
Look at you,
So he said,
got,
yeah.
got,
So just so we asked to just help spread our word and help promote us, you all. Like Jarvis said, we don't do promotion a lot, but by you spreading the word and you sharing us, we
Yeah.
appreciate every share that you give us. So thank you all for sharing and coming in on tonight. We look forward to the next time. And so until then, we are Who's Truth. Anything else, Jarvis?
Nah, that's it, man. If anybody y'all want to see on here, shoot us a message. Leave it in the comments. We see everything, so it's three of us, so somebody gonna see it. Um, I don't know who we gonna do next week, but I'll think of it and I'll put it out there. Or if it's something that y'all want to see next week that y'all want to get into, um, it's tax season. We already had a tax person on, so y'all can go back and watch that episode. I think Ivy Evans, another CS resident, she did real estate, getting it in home right. You can go back and watch that episode. So we might have to do another religious uplift episode. That's we do for another one of them. We do for another
Yes.
one of them. So
Yes.
we gonna reach out to some pastors or somebody. Yeah, I might know a Buddhist. Let me see if I
It's
can find a Buddhist monk or
it's
something. I
it's
might get
it's
somebody like
March.
that.
It's March Madness, so we're gonna go crazy next month. So let's get it together.
Oh, you know
Until
what?
then, until then,
Yeah,
it's March
yeah.
Madness. Until then, we'll talk to you guys on next Tuesday at the beginning of March. Thank you and have a great night. God bless everybody.
Bye, y'all.
Bye, y'all.